Because you're what, Adam?
I'm working on the Facebook Live part.
We're not doing Facebook Live, or it's too late. I didn't have time to practice that or fix it, so we're going back to YouTube.
Yep.
Hey,
Oh,
Eric, I didn't ask you also too, is there a time limit here?
Yeah, so usually we keep it to like 6 to 8 minutes or so, but it's a little,
okay.
you know, it's a little flexible, but usually that's plenty of time.
Okay, well then,
Say you're okay with Facebook Live if they want to move it, that you're set for that. What did you email it to?
I don't need it.
And Paul, if you come up with I don't know, do we want to do an activity, or are we just doing topic rooms afterwards?
Breakout rooms is really good, I think. Let's do that.
I agree.
No, but
All right,
that's
cool.
early. You're not sharing your screen yet.
Oh, my dog is
Yeah.
loud.
Tell them you're okay with Facebook.
Hey, you guys,
I'm okay with Facebook Live if you want.
you guys, I'm okay with Facebook Live if we want to do that.
It's not you, Todd. It's a
operational.
technical glitch with Zoom, and it's us.
Yeah.
So
To do Facebook Live, I have to do some
It's
behind the
not
scenes.
going back even for my notes.
yeah, we need to get that started before 2 minutes before next time, Adam. You and I need to coordinate.
I can't hear anything you're saying. Ben.
All right, I'm going to start the recording back up.
We are currently live on YouTube.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Cups ABQ via Zoom. We're so happy that you're here. As usual, we're having technical difficulties with Facebook, but you can reach us on YouTube. And that's a good place for us, actually, because then the videos can be accessed in YouTube for playback. Before we get started this morning, I want to introduce our sponsors. We have Fat Pipe ABQ, which is the regular in-person host for 1 Million Cups. And we're still doing 1 Million Cups right here at Fat Pipe via Zoom. I'm the only one here, but the internet is great. We have Jason calling photography. When we're in person, he comes around and takes amazing pictures and posts beautiful pictures to Facebook for us. We have Noventum Custom Software. Brian is our donut supplier, and we all are missing our donuts. Loza and Loza Law Firm, that's an IP law firm, and they pay for our coffee. Sparks Flow with Adam, he's just a member of the team, and we have More Than Organized. Miriam buys our creamer when we're in person. So obviously we're all doing our at-home coffee supply, and I hope that everyone's got their coffee and they're ready for a great presentation this morning. Sonia, I am going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Now, one thing I want everyone to think about is after our presentation today, we're going to split people into topic rooms. So if there's a topic that you would love to talk about, think about that and make sure to send me, or feel free to include everyone, a message in chat as to what topic room you'd like to have. And I'll organize that and send that information to Lisa, and Lisa will be creating the rooms. And then what she does is she assigns you to those rooms. So think of it as, you know, after 1 Million Cups, we usually have this great networking event. So this is our time to kind of network and talk about things that are important to us. And before I get there though, for those of you who've never been or seen a 1 Million Cups, what happens is an entrepreneur shares their journey as well as their challenges. And then we as the audience can ask them questions, help them with their challenges that they're facing right now. And also maybe make them think about their business in a different light. So I hope you all come up with some good challenging questions for Todd. And Todd Lassane, I was not your coach, so I don't really know anything about your business. So I'm excited to hear about what you have to say about Altera. Is it Altera?
So it's Altera.
Altera. So
Altera, alternative.
it's all
care.
yours,
Yeah.
Todd. Go for it.
Got it. So good morning, everybody. Interesting that we started this conversation with some challenges in technology. So the challenge in the technology is definitely on my end, and I hope that everybody can hear me and that things are coming through okay. I wanted to thank you all for the time this morning, and I want to talk with you about our medical clinic, Altera Alternative Care. So Altera, as the name came from, a combination of alternative and therapeutics, which is kind of our spirit of our mission. We're an alternative medicine clinic. We're a health retail products retailer and provider of professional services. Our clinic is located here in Albuquerque. We're located at 1100 San Mateo Northeast, and this is on the street level at San Mateo and Lomas. We're right next to Bikram's Yoga and MVD, so that gives us quite a bit of good walk-by traffic. Also with the yoga studio next to us, got some space for a bit of a health professions front on San Mateo, and I think that that's kind of a nice little feature. Our clinic basically is more of a retail concept along with the medical center as well. We started this idea of the medical clinic basically about 2014 after finishing business school, and it's not that business school really taught me how to open a medical clinic, but rather it planted the seed and allowed me to think creatively and try to, I guess, theorize bringing something forward. So it's been kind of quite a journey, actually, moving from the concept of a medical clinic to actually bringing something forward. We got basically a blank space and redesigned the space and turned it from an old, this used to be the Pendleton's Blankets
Wow.
space, and we turned it into a medical clinic. And so all of the interior walls, everything that you're seeing in the photos here was what we created and brought in. The concept is bright, it's open. We created 4 exam rooms, a break space, office and a bathroom, a conference room, a retail space, lots of nice modern lighting, bright open concept, lots of windows. The furniture, the fixtures, you might recognize some of these things came from the old Sears location. When Sears went out of business, we stood around and looked at some of the things that they had there and said, hey, I can adapt that and put that into a medical clinic. And so we kind of took the concept from Starbucks napkins starting way back in 2016 and took forever and ever to design what the space would look like and actually bring that together. In fact, the whole process really gives me a lot of, what's the word for it? A lot of respect for a general contractor, because we're on a shoestring budget, and we pulled permits and did all the things that we need to do to bring everything up. But it took a lot to get this up to speed. And if you don't have a whole lot of money to pay a general contractor to do all these things, that finds yourself putting masking tape on the floor to say, hey, a wall could go here, and I could put a desk there, and so forth. So what you're seeing right here is kind of the outline of what the space looks like. And again, it's a real bright, open space. Really proud of it. When people walk in, people really feel comfortable and at ease. So a little bit more about the concept here. I have been a medical practitioner for 24 years, and I have seen patients in numerous clinical settings. I started way back in '96 at a primary care clinic in rural New Mexico, doing primary care. I transitioned from a primary care clinic to academia, teaching at the medical school at UNM, taught medical students there for 12 years, tried to climb the ladder in academia, and didn't really find what I was looking for in academia. Went to business school. Business school really upended my thought of medicine and made me want to work in more of a business related capacity. Went over to Presbyterian and started directing the urgent care and the emergency rooms there. I did some consulting with United Healthcare, and most recently, and I'm trying to speed through a 24-year history of my career in medicine, but most recently I was seeing patients with United Healthcare and doing home visits with United Healthcare. In this capacity, I would go to persons' homes and I would interview patients. We would do the reconciliation of their medications, do a brief health exam, and work them through their annual physicals. And it was in this environment that I was seeing approximately 3 out of 7 patients a day who would talk with me about medical cannabis. And the interesting thing about cannabis is as a clinician, this is something that was never taught and never discussed in medical school, never came up in any of our clinical grand rounds or any of these things where you would get additional information on medical cannabis. However, a lot of the patients that I was seeing were asking me questions about cannabis and how do they incorporate that into their therapy. Is that something that we could use to replace medications that we're currently taking? Is this something that maybe can help me better than the things that I'm currently using? And this slide kind of really tells you what birthed the concept. As a medical community, we're definitely not prepared to answer these questions. The literature is difficult for us to go through because we're still playing political football with cannabis in the United States, and we're not studying that too well. So doctors are unprepared to talk about medical marijuana. Most of us know nothing about medical cannabis. We're not trained on it in our school and so forth, and we're frankly not prepared to prescribe. So these type of things really birthed the concept that I would create a medical practice that specialized in cannabis. I would, this practice would focus on the evidence and make sure that we utilized all of what we've done in medicine with regards to corresponding with additional clinicians in the community, making sure that we write progress notes that we look up drug-to-drug interactions, that everybody's on the same page and that we're doing the very best that we can to incorporate cannabis as a therapy into a patient's regimen. I also decided that this practice, because of the fact that cannabis was a part of it, reimbursement by insurances is a difficult thing because the feds don't recognize cannabis as a therapy. So we really made a conscious effort to separate the practice from insurance, and the model that's out and available for this particular practice style is called direct primary care. And direct primary care is basically a movement backward in medicine, where we focus more on the interaction with the patient and providing value rather than a volume-based practice where we're going to bill insurances and see a lot of people to keep the practice afloat with regards to co-pays and patients, keeping the practice up with seeing a lot of people. So the DPC practice kind of works like a gym membership. Patients pay a set monthly fee. They have access to myself, my other colleagues in the practice, and we really try to focus on a personal relationship, smaller practice size. We would do home visits if needed. We would deliver medications on occasions when needed. We don't necessarily schedule patients in a 15-minute window and expect for persons to tell us all their health history and get out of there so that we can continue to move that volume-based model forward. It shows a lot more flexibility. I think patients feel more cared for in this environment and less of a machine that healthcare can sometimes be. The situation, to bring a medical clinic forward is just an amazing endeavor. This is a small little subset of the associations that we have in the practice with regards to all of the electronic components that are necessary to support a practice with your electronic medical records, your billing, your x-ray, your laboratory, place to look up medical evidence and search, ways to correspond with other practitioners, ways to schedule patients, reminder components to schedule patients, a lot obviously to bring the practice forward. And certainly this time really, it just took a long time for me to get from masking tape on the floor to actually open and up and running. And we started to do basically seeing patients on a soft open basis and really try to get the operational flow down, learn what we were doing, put things together, et cetera. We had a grand opening that was planned for, of all months, March 20th. And we sent out invitations, licked the envelopes and the stamps, and had a nice list of presenters with regards to some of the products that we were representing, and a list of guests and clinicians that I knew in the community. And I was really excited to bring that door open. And of course, then we ran into that little small issue called the pandemic and the COVID virus. So we went from ramping up, receiving referrals from community clinicians, and preparing for the practice. We had a lot of marketing materials out, and then the staffing was up and running. Our products were on the shelf, and then all of a sudden, everything kind of came to a grinding halt. And the challenges at this point became significantly more different now, because we were seeing in the community dramatic decreases in patient volume. We were seeing that patients were delaying access to care because they were worried about coming into. People were uncomfortable going into medical clinics. If you're going to run into a problem, where are you going to run into that problem? Where people go with the problem. And so we found now that we're getting a chance to come back online. And I know people talked about medical clinics being essential practices. Well, it's easy to say you're essential practice, but difficult to attract patients to come to a clinic when fear is predominant. So we never really got to open, and I think that was kind of our biggest challenge in this whole last couple of months here with regards to the virus. It just seemed like we were building up, and then we ended up kind of going to a halt and really having a difficult time figuring out how to come back and what to do next. So I think one of my interests in talking with persons this morning on this forum here in 1 Million Cups is to kind of first be vulnerable and talk about that pandemic effect on my mindset. When you're home for quite a while, and when you've had to transition your thought process about your business model. I guess some of it is a little complacency because it's easy to just be at home and get comfortable in this environment here. But, I've had to rethink what we do in medicine and how we do that. We've had to really work hard to transition our practice to a telemedicine practice, because that seemed to be the most important way to get in front of patients, to provide, HIPAA compliant portal, to let persons know that they could be seen via this environment. There was an adjustment phase there with patients who are certainly unfamiliar with being seen on telemedicine, the limitations of what we can do in this environment here. I can't touch you, we can't put a stethoscope on you. So that presented challenges as well too. Certainly had to extend my office hours and make myself available to see patients same day, 24 hours a day. Didn't matter if it was on weekends and whatever it was. Those things were parts of the idea for direct primary care, that we would be accessible, but we really thought we would be seeing more patients in the office. And of course, the virus changed that and brought us more so to online. So, we've really had to kind of think now, well, what's next for our clinic? And we're working on transitioning the retail of our nutraceuticals and our cannabis-based therapies to online. And I've had to try to really push forward to try to get up to speed with e-retailing and creating a site that can accommodate that. We're still trying to expand our customer base. Found that that's been difficult with regards to social media and marketing, because there's some limitations, obviously, with regards to cannabis, even if it's non-intoxicating, and at least there's components of it that can be that. And again, I'm trying to rush through this rather than teach us the different variations of cannabis and such, but Facebooks and so forth constantly flag your ads and won't allow you to bring those things forward because of the fact that it says cannabis in that. Thank goodness I've been able to maintain other practices that I had up and running prior to beginning our medical clinic here. And so we've really attempted to expand on existing contracts that I have. I work as a medical practitioner at a juvenile correctional facility in town. And we've brought to that juvenile correctional facility now a new model of safety and wellness in the workplace, where we can talk with, we teach all the staff over at the clinic how to don personal protective equipment, how to screen patients entering and exiting the facility. We've submitted contracts to other agencies in town to do that, provide those professional services away from the jail also. And this is kind of birthed what we're referring to as kind of a consumer confidence service where we can bring medical knowledge to businesses and teach them how to get back up to speed and bring persons into their businesses safely. So that's been another attempted pivot for us. We're also partnering with with our telemedicine service with other businesses in town and really trying to increase our access of direct primary care to small businesses. As you know, a lot of small businesses have lost, or the employees rather, if they're separated from their employment now, they're losing their health insurance. And we think that there's a great opportunity to provide a fee for service, access to medical care via direct primary care for those persons that no longer have employer-based health insurance. So hopefully that'll be another revenue stream, another opportunity for us moving forward. So that's a quick overview of my clinic. I know that my presentation wasn't as polished as I would like for it to have been. I kind of jammed it through here in the last 2 days to try to get everything up and running, but I would really appreciate the opportunity to talk with the rest of the group and answer some questions about what we're doing in our clinic. We believe in our mission. We think that we provide a great service to the community. We hope that the community has increasing confidence in medical practitioners and medical practices in general. We're still here. We're doing all the right things to protect ourselves as well as protect the patients that we're seeing. There's some talk about bringing, obviously, the antibody tests to our clinic and such, but I'm having difficulty with some of our staff being concerned about exposing to. We're certainly not an urgent care. We're not an emergency room, so that makes it difficult, to put yourself in that environment as well too. So a lot of things to kind of keep up and to keep in mind as we move forward in the coming months. So I'll draw a line there and stop talking, and I'm happy to talk with the group about the questions you might have.
We definitely have some questions, and actually this was a great presentation, and I appreciate also that you put it out there about that kind of mindset change when COVID started, because I think a lot of us had that issue. And I as a writer, I was like, oh, I'll use all this time to write, but I was so stressed about what was happening. I had a really hard time even writing. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you.
David Murphy has a question. David, do you want to unmute yourself and ask Todd that question?
Yeah. Thanks, Sonia. Yeah, Todd, I'm just curious how you are able to deal with, and maybe what some of the obstacles are with respect to your business in terms of banking and, getting payments through, because it's still federal money is still kind of hostile toward cannabis, and some banks have worked with cannabis businesses and been punished for it. And what are you finding in terms of dealing with just the financial aspect of your business?
Well, that's a great question, David. I appreciate that. And certainly there are a lot of challenges there. We did find that we had difficulty obtaining a small business loan. We can't go through all the normal avenues to secure funds. There is one bank in New Mexico that was quote unquote cannabis friendly. This is Southwest Capital Bank. It really depends on what you're trying to promote as the business model. I think that one of the things that was helpful for us is that we always wanted to have the clinic be the primary business model, that we were seeing patients and that we were evaluating patients and treating patients, and that cannabis was a therapy that we might choose to access if it was indicated. And I think that when we moved the cannabis product a little bit further down on the site, as far as the most important component of the business model and the business plan, the banks were more receptive to that. even though we only received a small line of credit, we utilized a whole lot of our own funds to bring things forward. One of the things that I learned about creating a small business is if you don't have a big suitcase full of money, you better not quit your day job, because it takes certainly a long time to bring things up and running. And when whatever you think that you might need, you're actually going to need 3 times more than that. And who would ever expect that when your business plan is unfolding that you're going to get a 3-month timeout, and all of a sudden here comes another situation that you hadn't anticipated. So this is what I was talking about with regards to the state contracts. If we didn't have some of those things that were existing, I can see why the statistics are currently, they're anticipating almost 60,000 primary care practices closing in relation to this pandemic. They're expecting maybe 1 in 4 providers might not have enough to make it through the next couple of months and so forth. The PPP loans are a small little portion of that. So back to your question on this, there was one bank in town that provided a business line of credit for us. We used our own funds. The banking thing, it seems like there's not been any issues, but keep in mind, our practice is not a dispensary. And I think that there's a distinction between a dispensary and a medical clinic that also retails cannabis products, specifically the non-THC containing, non-intoxicating, non-federally illegal, if you will, cannabis version. And that's what our clinic is. So I'm also the medical director for one of the licensed not-for-profit producers in town, Southwest Organic Producers, SWOP. And when I have patients that need to utilize a THC containing cannabis therapy, I have associations with those folks over there, and I can kind of refer my patients from our practice to the THC containing dispensary. They can obtain their products over there, and then they come back and I continue to manage them over here. So I think that that's the other thing that really makes it a little bit more likely that a bank will allow us to do business in this way. What I'm hearing on the side of the dispensaries, this is a cash-based business. They do have difficulties with regards to their point of sale systems and receiving transactions. There's tax liabilities, obviously, that are associated with that complicate things considerably. But mine is a little easier because we're a medical clinic first, and we utilize cannabis-based therapies that don't contain THC as a potential alternative therapy. And that's why the banks found it a little bit more easy to, at least Southwest Capital Bank, to provide that business line of credit. And we deposit our funds at Main Bank, where we have a good relationship with the banker there, and he knows what our concept is.
Great. Okay, and Charles Garrison had a comment about advertising.
Yeah, so AdWallet is a local company here in town. They're an advertising company. And the way it works, they have an app that you can, essentially it's finding out information about you to understand who you are. And then they will send you videos to watch, advertisements that you can watch, and you'll get paid for watching those. And they're relevant to you because they have that information. They work with a lot of cannabis companies. They do a lot of marketing campaigns with cannabis companies and related companies. So I would recommend looking at them. They're a really great resource that we have here in New Mexico that will eventually be a national company, but right now it's local to where we are.
Understood. Well, thank you for that. I'll certainly look into it. The marketing piece is an ever evolving thing. One of the challenges that I feel that I've experienced in terms of marketing is you feel that unless you have an identified marketing plan from the start, sometimes you find yourself chasing marketing ideas, and there was a thought, and then you're running down the road to try to catch up to that thought, as opposed to being in front of it and being proactive and really I guess making a defined pitch in a right direction. And so certainly that's been a learning process for us to put money out there and find out, did that work out, and find some avenues where you spend money and you get nothing for it and so forth. So That's a new thing. I think all of these things that I'm experiencing, even though you do business school just gives you a little piece of paper. You actually have to be in business to experience, how to do the business. If you look at my logo after the pandemic, we added a little headphones on the guy right there to represent that we were doing more of the technology piece and so forth. And so it was a constantly iterative process to evolve the marketing and the advertising for this practice. But I'll certainly look into the ad wallet, and thank you for that
Cool.
tip.
You're welcome. There's a great book too called Building a Story Brand. It's written by an author named Donald Miller. And that'll give you some insight into how to craft a story, which then, in my opinion, all the marketing should resonate from that point. So hopefully that'll help kind of set you on the right direction.
I appreciate that.
Cool.
All
right. And Phil W says it was a great presentation, professionally presented. So just FYI, a lot of people loved your presentation.
Gee whiz. If only I would have studied for the test a little bit harder, actually.
No, it was great.
Thank you for that.
No problem. Brian Steiner has a question. Brian,
yeah, I think you addressed this.
Is anyone able to hear him?
No, it's choppy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Brian,
No.
you might
Yeah,
turn off
you're good now, Brian. I can hear you now.
Okay.
maybe turn off your video.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so that's my wife, but anyways, so I think I understand the way that your practice has this product component. Do you have like a full service pharmacy, or is it really just the non-THC components? Because that's a little bit different than the medical practices that I've seen, where they typically write a prescription and then that's filled elsewhere. So you guys are
excellent. Yeah. So a couple of things there. So you're in medicine, we're not able to prescribe cannabis, if you will. You can make recommendations for that. It doesn't require a written prescription. So there's two answers to your question. We certainly have the ability to write prescriptions and traditional medications for patients. So I write hypertension medications and cholesterol medicines, diabetes medicines on a regular basis. We do that with the prescription pad, like always. On the cannabis side, we make recommendations, and some interesting considerations on that, because we can't really make medical claims with regards to the health effects of these products, since we're not FDA approved for that. These things are not studied, if you will, and not federally legal to say, hey, this particular cannabis therapy is going to be effective for so-and-so. So a lot of what you do is make recommendations based on what your experience is with other patients and so forth. We also have at our clinic, we do offer a wide variety of products, and the products that I selected to include in the clinic were based on diagnoses that I knew patients would be presenting with. Again, I was looking back at the persons that I was seeing at United Healthcare, and a lot of senior patients were asking, obviously, for relief from pain in joints and dismobility, arthritis problems, and so forth. Certainly, a whole lot of people have difficulty with anxiety and post-traumatic stress. Everybody would like to get a good night's sleep. We also thought it was important to vary the alternative therapy, not only in the form of cannabis, but also nutraceuticals and professional supplements. So I have a small little line of herbal remedies and nutraceuticals, things that help to promote normal body health, work real well with the cannabis related products, especially in an orthopedics aspect. So for example, patients comes in with osteoarthritis in the knees and so forth. We can utilize the cannabis-based therapies orally. We could also recommend the turmeric, the glucosamine and joint supports, other types of things to help to support formation of healthy joints, bones, and tendons. And we find that those were more effective for patients than certainly the non-steroidals, the ibuprofens and things like that. A lot of patients were coming to us with difficulties with regards to opiates and wanting to step away from opiates, which is the number one or one of the number one things that people utilize cannabis for. We also do procedures, joint injections and things like that. We were working at the time to bring different forms of joint injections and so forth. So there's a lot of other offerings besides just the cannabis therapies that we were utilizing.
Cool. Okay. Does that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, I think I understand the product versus services component to this business.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Brian. All right. We also have a question from Chris. Chris, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Down the unmute button. Hey, Todd, really good presentation. Thank you very much.
Chris. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
My question is based around the nice thing about being home is you can go do a whole bunch of searching while you're listening to someone talk. And so I searched alternative medicine, and I found that you showed up number 3 in Google local search with 11 reviews. But when I searched under primary care, I didn't find you at all. And what was interesting, and the reason I came up with primary care is I was looking at your the SEO on your website, and you have what alternative care dash direct primary care as your page title.
Okay.
So, you know, according to your website, that's sort of what you're having people search on. But when I searched on you in Google, it didn't show up. So I guess really, you know, based upon your presentation, you talked a lot about cannabis. So a clear definition of what you want people to be able to find you under, I think, is going to be really important.
Thank you for that. That's super helpful. You know, there's been, I guess this is another one of the things that I might have expanded on or could have and should have expanded on during the slides here. You know, when you run into the pandemic, it really, you know, created a challenge for me, I guess, my mindset, because I found myself wanting to steer back to what I knew best, which was Western medicine, if you will. And I felt like during a pandemic, in fact, I was scheduled to do a talk for the clinicians at UNM at UNMH, and I pulled back from doing a cannabis talk at University Hospital while I knew that my colleagues were, you know, working real hard to take care of very sick and very ill patients in the ICU. And I felt like, is it the right time to talk about cannabis during a pandemic? Would people take this seriously during a pandemic? Also, the discussion about what evidence exists for the use of cannabis to address a viral illness that's as serious as COVID-19. And since those things were unknowns, I really found myself doing a little bit of a mental juggle there of maybe going back more to my primary care roots and my Western medicine roots rather than the business model that I had originally created. And so your discussion or your comment about not having a clear direction as to where to go is very accurate, because I am struggling with that my own self. Is that something that you know, that I don't necessarily have that answer perfectly defined in my mind here, because again, the virus has changed things for me considerably and really making me rethink. I hope that you know, I could get a little bit more clarity on that as things move backward. You know, I don't think that there's going to be a back to normal, if you will, because we're all talking about a new normal. And I think that a whole lot of these things that we're trying to transition to in medicine will be the normal and will be the standard. And so it's very you know, very perceptive of you to see that there's some ambiguity there, and I certainly need to iron that out a bit better. We have someone that's helping with our website and the search engine optimization, and certainly that's another learning curve, if you will, of evolution of the practice and what we'll need to do to be clear to the community.
Yeah, I'll just throw out there that if you show up in the top 3 of Google under a certain area, you have a chance of getting the 71% of all the clicks come out of the top 3. So understanding exactly what that where you're being placed there is really
Okay.
critical, and how you set yourself up. So, if you want to pull in patients from primary care, you need to focus on primary care. If you want to focus on alternative medicine, you focus there. But it's hard to try and be lots of different things. When you're lots of different things,
Very true.
it becomes very bland.
Very
Also, if
true.
you have any questions, please reach out to me.
Thank you for that, Chris. I appreciate that.
Cool. All right. Clifton Chadwick wanted to let you know if you're looking for a bank, look at Main Bank, one of Albuquerque's only locally owned banks. And then David Murphy says Southwest Capital Bank too, just FYI.
Mhm.
All right. And let's see. Dun, dun.
We found good support from Lonnie Talbert, Southwest Capital. Lonnie's very experienced in the cannabis space. I think he understands what this is. A whole lot of this was exactly what my concept was, legitimizing the use of the cannabis therapy. I think that was something that the medical community is looking for. If you treat cannabis kind of like a subspecialty, a lot of docs are this is why you might find your doc is resistant to utilizing cannabis as a therapy for you, because they never learned anything about it in school, and nobody really wants to and has time to go back and study that and learn that. So we just kind of send people out into the community willy-nilly, and good luck, and help you find somebody that's reputable. So at the time that we were starting to ramp up, I was receiving quite a bit of referrals from my colleagues, and that was the number one referral source for new patients for us, because we set ourselves up as a receiver of referrals from community clinicians. We took it seriously. We evaluated the literature and the evidence. We made recommendations. We corresponded with their clinician and sent patients back. And that arrangement allows us to kind of function like you would. A primary care doctor doesn't specialize in heart, so they send a person over to a cardiologist. Don't specialize in GI, send them over to to the stomach doc, et cetera. And so we were trying to approach that like a subspecialist, receiving patients, consulting on cannabis, and then sending persons back to their docs for primary care. At the same time, when persons would see us, they would inevitably say, "Hey, can you be our doctor? We'd like to just stay here." And that's what really kind of made me split off and realize that I needed to have that other component of it well represented on the direct primary care side.
Cool. All right, Todd, we're going to try at least take one more comment question before we try to wrap up, because I do want to get us into our discussion groups. Richard Farmer, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and share your input?
That was a great presentation, Todd. I was just, I'm close friends with a guy named Eli Goodman, and his company is called Better Days. And they are a dispensary and grower if you ever needed. I think they're at the same bank as you guys. I'm sure he works with Lonnie, but I've heard about all the, the ups and downs of that world. But if you needed to know somebody, I have their contact, and he's an amazing guy, and here in New Mexico.
You said Eli Goodman with Better Days?
Yes, sir.
Great, Richard. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
If you wanted to connect or whatever, let me know. I guess maybe I'll throw my email in the chat there if you want.
That came through a little bit pixelated, Richard. I didn't hear you too well.
I'll put my email on the chat, and you can, if you need to zap me, I can hook you guys. He's a main guy, and really like what you're up to.
Very good. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Cool. All right. So I know, Clifton, you had a question, but we're out of time. So I don't know if you're going to join the presenter room, but feel free to do that if you want to ask him that question. But I have two more questions for you, Todd. Number one, red or green?
Boy, I'll tell you, it to me, it's a little bit plate specific. So if it's carne elevada, I'm definitely eating red. If it's green enchiladas, I'm going with green. But I would never back away from red or green. Either one doesn't matter to me. They're both delicious.
Nice.
Sometimes I pick based on which one is the hottest too.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I pick whichever is not the hottest.
My family's from Louisiana, so we've got hot sauce on anything and everything except for cereal, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you for
Okay,
that.
and my next question is, what can we as a community do for you?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I guess I appreciate that people are talking about medical cannabis and the actual evidence that's associated with that. I think that if we talk with your community about a licensed, reputable clinician that is utilizing cannabis as a therapy, and spread the word that we're available to consult, like other clinicians do with regards to other components in medicine. That's something that I would think that you would do. We have some testimonials, and word of mouth is certainly an important thing. Those 11 reviews that we got were really in a short period of time. But when people realize that we're trying to do this seriously and not just sell some snake oil, so to speak, I think that that's the most important part. So if you're looking for a place where you can refer your parents and you want to know that the persons that are receiving that referral are also taking into account all the other medications that your parents might be on, or that your loved ones might be taking, that's what that's where we're at with this particular practice, and that's how we try to approach it. So I guess that answers it as best as I can.
No problem. All
Never
right.
thought I'd be nervous presenting in this environment, but man, this has been a challenging one for me.
You did a great job, Todd.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
did.
guys.
All right, so
Thank you,
now
guys.
what's going to happen is Lisa's going to split us up into rooms. So I haven't seen anyone request the National Science Foundation, so we may not do that topic room unless someone else requests it. But we definitely have, so anyone who wants to talk more with Todd, we're going to have a presenter room. So Todd's going to be moved into a room, and whoever wants to talk with him more can be moved into there. We also have augmented reality and marketing. So if you want to talk about marketing, or you want to talk about augmented reality, oh yay, someone requested the National Science Foundation. Okay, so we're good there. We at least have 2 people in that room. So make sure to post to everyone in the chat what room you want. And Lisa will start the process. It may take a few moments, so just be patient.
Yeah, be patient with me. I'm going to take Todd over first, and I'll start working my way back up the chat window. So just be patient as I reassign you. And when we'll end the meeting, we'll give you guys an extra 10 minutes. So we'll end at 10:10. You're welcome to leave whenever you need to. But I'll end the meeting for everyone about 10:10. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We're really happy that you're here. We'll see you next Wednesday. And if you want to present, we're looking for presenters. So please sign up.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Here we go. All righty. I think Raquel must be Todd's partner. She wants to go with him. Thanks for helping, Raquel. We appreciate that this morning.
Anytime.
Hey, Jason. Nice to see all these faces. I'm looking forward to the day when we can all be in a room.
Good morning.
Me too.
And eat donuts.
Yes, eat donuts, drink free coffee.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Are we in the AR room right now?
No, we have 31 participants, and I have to do them one at a time.
Sorry,
Here,
sorry.
here you go, Sonia. I'm sending you. Bye.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bill, you're on here twice. I'll send both just in case. Charles, I'm sending you to marketing. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye, Lisa.
Clifton wants to go to the presenter's room. All right, I may just have to start asking you guys where you want to go. Alan, do you want to go into any room?
The augmented reality.
All right. Chris Rancic, would you like to go anywhere?
Marketing, please.
Awesome. David Murphy,
Marketing also.
have a great day.
Thank you.
Jason Goldberg, hi, where would you like to go?
Yeah, Todd's room, Athena Healthcare.
Okay. Lisa McCary, where would you like to go? Yeah, I think you want discussion, right? Yeah.
Thanks.
Michael McDonald.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
National Science Foundation.
Okay. How about you, Miriam?
She was marketing.
Okay, thank you. It's really hard to scroll through there and assign to rooms. Paul, where would you like to go?
AR.
Richard Farmer.
He's definitely AR.
Okay, thanks. Richard Krukar, where would you like to go, Richard? Adam, how about you? You want to go anywhere?
I really want to go to AR, but I'm going to go to marketing.
Okay. Richard Krukar. Oh, on microphone, you want to go. Thank you. All right, Eric, I think you're the only one. Do you want to go to a room? I'll go ahead and stop recording. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll see you next week.